Everyone thinks Dr. Harlow is just a helpful deer running an animal clinic, but he is secretly the mastermind behind a horrific corporate experiment. In this video, we're going to be going over the lore of every character in Animal Hospital. Let's get into it. Starting with Dr. Harlow. Dr. Harlow is a doctor and the supervisor of the intern, which is the character we play as. Not much is known about Dr. Harlow. He carries a suitcase with the writing "Top Secret" in red letters on his right hand. There are speculations that he is actually an anomaly himself, based on the anomaly version of him in the lobby in the hospital. It's also implied that he is an anomaly in one of the thumbnails of the game, which portrays him as holding a knife with an evil face, as we see in the anomalies, presumably about to eliminate the intern laying on the bed. Dr. Harlow is a light orange deer-like creature who wears blue medical scrubs under a white consultation coat. On his head rests a head mirror with a brown band. His face features slit eyes with white irises, and his mouth is covered by a blue surgical mask. On his head are two big antlers, slightly more muted in his skin color. Very little is actually known about Dr. Harlow's personality. Most information about him only appears during gameplay and dialogues. He gives the player helpful advices before unlocking the shutters and cams. In Shift 2, he opens new facilities, such as the shop and emergency rooms. And in Shift 3, he unlocks the taser. What do you think? Is he an anomaly, or is he just a normal doctor? Moving on, Barney. Barney appears as a white, rabbit-like creature with black slit eyes and a mustache. He wears a brown hat along with plaid brown pants. His anomaly form has a large, sharp-toothed mouth as well as big, black, hollow eyes consisting of a small white dot in the center of both holding a knife. Little is known about Barney's background. Barney is an anomaly and a dangerous serial killer. Barney's first interaction with the player, he asked for coffee because he had a long day. Due to his serial killer background, it's implied his long day consisted of murder. The next time he comes in the hospital, he asks for coffee once more. If you close the shutters on him or do not give him coffee after 120 seconds, which is 2 minutes, he will threaten you and say, "You better watch out. I don't like being refused." The next interaction, he asks the player to keep his red briefcase safe. On the third interaction, Barney will ask for another coffee and then ask the player to take a picture of him. It's unknown why Barney asked for this random picture, but it is the first time the player sees Barney's anomaly form. Officer Duckman will later show you the picture that is taken by you, and it's unknown how the picture ended up in his hands. After the previous interaction, Barney will come to you and ask for coffee. After you give him coffee, Barney will ask for a scalpel. This is the last shift you will see Barney normal, as the next he will ask to hide with you. You can turn down this request like all other interactions. From what is known, he utilized a kitchen knife to murder his victims, as he used a kitchen knife to incapacitate Officer Duckman. With the police tracking Barney down, he was left with little options and decided to ask us, the player, for help. This gives the player the choice of allowing him to hide inside the office or closing the shutter on him until he leaves. Refusing Barney during previous visits has no effect on this interaction. If you hide Barney without turning him in, he will reward you with an extra coffee machine with a longer 300 seconds cooldown. Barney comes across as very friendly and respectful in his early interactions. Many of his lines have him calling you, the player, friend, and every time he receives help from us, he either says thank you or compliments us in some way. An example is him saying you are the best, mostly for giving him coffee. Despite this, he manipulates and uses the player as much as possible, and comes off as very demanding rather than kind. And he gets upset if the player refuses to give him what he asks for. He is heavily dependent on us for favors and feels like a mooch. Once Officer Duckman arrives at the hospital and his appearance changes, if the player speaks to him, he tells the player that friends do not turn each other to the police, and even says, "If you speak, I will kill you, friend." So while Barney can be kind, he's extremely unhinged when it comes to the player not giving him what he wants. And he's quite sadistic, considering he is a serial killer. Shooting or tasing Barney will not do anything to him, which makes him a unique anomaly. Moving on to the third character, Rathu. Rathu appears as a small black anthropomorphic rat. He has a white snout, two white buck teeth, and a long curled pink tail. His ears resemble more like rabbit ears than typical rat ears. Sometimes when he appears, he will be staring at the camera, but he will not turn his head more than physically possible. And this does not mean that he is an anomaly. Little is known about Rathu's background. We know based on a dialogue with Ron from accounting that in the past he was actually in Ron's office. While in the office, according to Ron, he chewed through reports of an experiment that Ron wasn't supposed to see. This insight reveals a possible sinister background for Rathu. The first interaction Rathu has with the player, he explained how being small has its advantages, as he hears things and sees things that others don't. According to him, this makes being small a dangerous job. He gives the player advice to not trust anyone in the hospital. He giving insight to why his name was kept secret on the first encounter. The next encounter with Rathu, he will tell the player that he's starting to like them. He tells the player that people think he's an anomaly, and he expresses sadness about that. He appreciates that the player treats him just like anyone else. Rathu comes again a third time and tells the player he needs to disappear for a while because the government is after him. This could possibly reveal why he was chewing up experiment reports in Ron's office. Rathu knows the government's secrets, and the government doesn't want Rathu talking about them to anyone. This means Rathu has a background involved in government affairs to some extent. Rathu has a small conversation with the player when he says he has to disappear for a while. In this conversation, he mentions he had a twin sister named Ratina, the smart one of the family, who worked for Animal Corporation. He would later disappear without a trace or prior notice. Rathu mentions how he has been searching for her for a while, and when he leaves the office, he hands the player a key and note. After leaving the office, he supposedly doesn't return and leaves for good. This key can be used in one of the cat posters in room 5 to unlock a safe. Inside, there was a photo of Ratina, a suitcase with the words top secret, and a message stating the experiment was a success. The shadow now sees everything, which the shadow could possibly be the stalker. It is said that Dr. Harlow made the stalker. Fourthly, Ron from accounting. Ron appears as a blue rabbit with dark brown hair. He wears oversized glasses, a white suit, a black tie, black pants, and brown shoes. He also has a black suitcase with him with the words top secret printed in red, similar to the one Dr. Harlow carries. Ron is from accounting and is very knowledgeable on anomaly and entity activities. Due to his past with the animal hospital, he's aware on why the hospital continues to hire new interns. He keeps this a secret from the player. One conversation with the player will also reveal that he knows about the past intern that was eaten by the bed monster. Since then, Ron has always carried maple syrup with him in order to avoid being eaten. Ron will also reveal to the player that the patients that go to the hospital aren't there because they're sick, but because they're infected. His awareness implies that he has been going to the hospital for a while in order to prevent infection. His knowledge of the old files being moved a month ago implies Ron has encountered many monsters and anomalies, such as the massive eyes monster, and also the stalker. He sometimes sees the stalker out of the corner of his eye, but his time at the hospital has made him aware that the stalker is shy and doesn't like to be stared at. Rathu once came to Ron's office and chewed through reports of experiments Ron wasn't supposed to see. Despite witnessing all of these different monsters and anomalies and being the most knowledgeable of them, he's very chill and laid back, which implies he's quite calm under pressure. He seems numb to all these events that are happening around him. He's ready for survival, and he's very observant, noticing patterns amongst all the different possible monsters in the hospital. He's also very straightforward, having no issue telling the player of all the dangerous or disturbing truths of the place. And he doesn't seem to care about Rathu chewing through lab reports, which implies he's more focused on his own life. Next up, we have Ratina. Ratina is the lost twin sister of Rathu, and she went missing without any trace. She looks identical to Matthew, except for that she has visible eyelashes and a purple bow tied on her right ear. Ratina used to work for Animal Corporation, and it is unknown how long ago she worked there. And it is commonly and heavily theorized that she is the stalker, and there is evidence from Rathu that this is the case. What do you think? Is she the stalker? 6. We have Officer Duckman. Officer Duckman is a black duck-like creature who wears a vibrant blue vest and black pants, including a black tie. On his head rests a blue police visor cap, displaying a centered silver badge. His face features slit eyes and a notable orange bill. Little is known about Officer Duckman's background. He is a police officer working with others to track down the infamous serial killer Barney, which we talked about earlier. Officer Duckman procures, by unknown means, the photo of Barney that the player initially takes as per request from Barney. It is implied that Barney left his photo for the officer to find at some point, and it's unknown why. If you choose to turn in Barney, he will yell for the player to arrest him, realizing that Barney was inside the office. After being attacked by Barney, Officer Duckman faints and requires medical intervention to survive. If the player chooses not to turn in Barney, however, the officer will leave and asks the player to report any further suspicious activity. Unlike Barney with his own coffee machine, Officer Duckman does not reward the player with a gift in exchange for turning Barney in. Officer Duckman's debut is dynamic depending on the player's progress with Barney. Officer Duckman will only appear after the player has accepted Barney's demand to hide behind the front desk. The officer, however, will never appear if the player chooses to deny or ignore any of Barney's many requests. Officer Duckman is professional and focused on his duty. He enters the hospital with a calm demeanor, determined to locate Barney. If the player, however, chooses to not turn in Barney, Officer Duckman does not not try to press the player for information, demonstrating his level-headedness. However, his poor investigation skills implied that he is fairly incompetent at his job. When the player chooses to turn Barney in, Officer Duckman, rather than pulling out a weapon, yells for the player to arrest Barney. This serves as additional evidence that Officer Duckman is rather very unskilled. Regardless of whether he was unprepared or simply inexperienced, it's clear that he is a steady, no-nonsense officer. Due to his limited dialogue, it can be inferred that Officer Duckman is a fairly reserved individual. Even if the player saves him by providing necessary medical care, he does not state his gratitude, unlike other patients. Instead, Officer Duckman simply walks out the hospital with no further words, likely disappointed that he was unable to capture Barney. That was all the lore for the characters in Animal Hospital. Let me know what you want to see next.